The Lee County Courthouse now. Anika, the first witness in the murder trial, took the stand today. What did they have to say?
Well, firefighters described finding her tucked under a mattress, her home on fire. The medical examiner explained she couldn't have died of that fire. She was attacked. I spoke with a friend of Sarah's this morning. They told me some family members just can't bear to sit in the courtroom and listen to that testimony. It's just too heartbreaking and gruesome.
You may know her from TV. This is Sarah Nicholson, the woman beaten and killed in her Bonita Springs home in 2017. Her mom knows her as Sarah Marie, her best friend. You have your loved ones. Debbie and David had their only child, Sarah Marie, who is still the center of their world. You saw these photos of her blonde hair and blue eyes. Her mom knows how Sarah's laugh sounds and her hug feels, and she misses it. You saw Sarah's burned out home. Sarah's mom walked through it in the days after her daughter was murdered. She saw what no mom should ever see. She told me, "I wanted to know what happened to my baby." She hoped for a lock of Sarah's hair. All she got was soot from the fire. You see a victim on your TV. Her coworkers still see a graphic designer, an artist, and an entrepreneur. Her mom still sees her angel put on this earth for 34 years. You will never get to know Sarah Nicholson. She will always be a stranger. But friends said Sarah was a stranger to few, a traveler at heart. This was Sarah's last trip to Scotland before she went back to Bonita Springs, before she was killed. We saw how short Sarah Nicholson's life was cut. She saw how life is an adventure, not just time to pass.
Nicholson clan land. Fort Tree Harbor, with all its pretty little houses. This is home.
Debbie Nicholson and I spoke for about 45 minutes on the phone last night, her just telling me memories of her daughter. She actually called me back just to tell me, any loved ones I have, tell them you love them every time you see them because it may be the last chance you get. She's not here physically at the trial, but that certainly is where her mind is. Christian Dillon said that even though he stepped over Sarah Nicholson's body, he didn't notice how badly hurt she was. He said that the person he was with beat her, and he didn't say anything because he was scared. The photos of Sarah Nicholson's injuries were so gruesome, a juror refused to continue in this trial several days ago.
He said he thought that he was helping a friend.
A friend of a friend. That's how little Christian Dillon said he had to do with it. He said he was just helping someone move, but the prosecution didn't buy it. They asked, how did moving turn into the stabbing, beating, and killing of Sarah Nicholson, then setting her house on fire? The state answered its own question by claiming Dillon planned the whole thing. The prosecutor pointed to the fact he admitted he was there at the scene, even stepped over Nicholson's lifeless body, and that one of his family members ended up with Nicholson's purse.
So I suggest that she probably went into it, seen the purse, and liked it. Every woman would like a Louis Vuitton purse, so I suggest she just grabbed it.
Well, you didn't notice when she was in a pile on the floor and not talking and not moving and not screaming? You didn't know then? When you just stepped over her?
I didn't even want to get involved with it. I was too scared.
And they really were speechless. They put me on speakerphone. You could hear Sarah's dad in the background, really excited. Her mom was crying. You could hear her. She told me she really didn't know how this was going to feel, to hear those words, guilty. But she told me she was shocked. It really did feel good to hear this moment.
Do you unanimously find, beyond a reasonable doubt, that in the course of committing the burglary, Christian Dillon made an assault on Sarah Nicholson? Yes. Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows to count 5, the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder.
Christian Dillon faces life in prison. He was found guilty of stealing Nicholson's car, burglary with assault and battery, robbery with a firearm, tampering with evidence, and second-degree murder. All of this after Christian Dillon told the jurors he never even touched Sarah Nicholson, never stole from her either, but they didn't buy it. Dylan will be held with no bond. His sentencing is August 23rd. That's when we'll hear some victim impact statements. The family shared a few of those with us ahead of time. One friend wrote, "Sarah's life wasn't lost. She did not pass. She was brutally murdered." And guilty was the only verdict they wanted to hear tonight for their Sarah.
Sarah Nicholson's mom and dad decided not to attend the trial, so they reached out to me before testimony got underway, knowing I was going to be in the courtroom. After the jury convicted their daughter's killer, they wanted to tell me what it's like to lose a daughter to a murderer and what it's like to try to forgive him. Forgiveness is not what you'd expect, but it's what David and Debbie Nicholson want to give.
Really taught Sarah Marie, don't do hatred. We don't do that because it will eat you up.
David Nicholson wants to forgive the man a jury said beat, stabbed, and killed his daughter, Sarah Marie. Debbie Nicholson's working on it. Both want to heal.
I could not get out of bed. What have I done? My God, so mad at me, you know?
He got so sick in those dark days after his daughter's murder in 2017 that he couldn't go to his daughter's service to read a prayer. The people who loved Sarah then offered their love to her parents.
But they called me just to tell me how much she loved me and what a difference it made in her life.
It wasn't what they planned, but in their hell, they felt her love, still feel her love.
I mean, I knew that she loved me. It'd take us, 5 hugs and kisses and I love yous to get her into her car. And then I went in the window and got another one.
That's what they want to remind you. You may not expect it, but tragedies happen. Good things happen too. Either way, you want to know that love.
Honor the people you know with love. Tell them the way you feel. Because in the next breath, you might not have that opportunity.
So the Nicholsons will do the best they can to live their lives without their Sarah Marie. As for her killer, he faces life in prison.
Reporter Anika Henniger has been covering the trial since it started. Anika, Robinson confessed to the crime.
He did, and it's all on tape. The jurors and the families listened to some 2 hours and 15 minutes of it today, and it was painful. Tears were streaming down loved ones' faces as they listened to the man they believe killed their kids talk about it so coldly. In that recording, Elwood Robinson changed his story about what he did that night over and over again, from leaving the bar and heading straight home to picking up a teenager and shooting 3 more. He was consistent on a few points, though. He said it was an accident. Robinson claimed he went out to the bonfire that night to help, in fact, to make sure no one got hurt. Yet somehow, prosecutors say he shot and killed 16-year-old Jeremy Stewart and 19-year-old William Jody Hughes, execution style.
We did everybody. We have all the kids.
All the kids?
Yep. We have everybody.
What about the ones that got shot?
They didn't make it. They didn't make it. I still believe you. That.
I'm scared. It happened that fast.
That's the last piece of evidence the jury heard before they went into deliberations. Robinson faces 2 counts of second-degree murder. As soon as we get a verdict, we'll bring that to you.
The people on the witness stand Wednesday were high school kids 2 years ago. And what they saw as high schoolers at a bonfire in Olga might tear down the strongest of adults. Dan Lucas was the young man who got in a fight, ran off, and ran into Elwood Robinson.
He said, "Don't worry, I'm an operative police officer," and he's like, "You've got nothing to worry about, son."
Lucas testified when he was in Robinson's blue Dodge, Robinson took after cars he thought parked in the woods that night. One of the cars driven by Austin Kelly, only 14 years old at the time.
Kind of estimate how fast you were going?
100 plus. The car wouldn't go faster.
You were driving it as fast as you could?
Yeah.
And how close was the truck to you when it was chasing you?
Not even a full car was behind me.
Did you know why it was chasing you?
No idea.
Were you scared at the time?
Yeah.
Kelly got away, but witnesses said Robinson found 16-year-old Jeremy Stewart and 19-year-old William Jody Hughes at the bonfire. The two teenagers he now stands accused of killing execution style.
Are you able to tell us who this person is?
It's Jeremy.
Is this Jeremy Stewart? This individual is.
That's Jody.
Saw him pull the trigger and shoot them. I saw it. It was all moving.
Did they appear like they could possibly be alive at that point?
No.
They were teenagers. They were partying, and they had their whole lives, full adult lives ahead of them that they will never get to live. But maybe in court, their families will get answers. Anika Henniger, Wink News, now. The families walked out of that courtroom today holding hands, hugging, hands on shoulders. So many loved ones who sat through that trial told me they each went through a loss that was so devastating, so bizarre that it was isolating. But today in that courtroom, they knew they weren't alone. And that feeling, they told me, was relief.
Count 1, second-degree murder, Jeremy Stewart. The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder.
Jurors decided Elwood Robinson was guilty on all charges, 2 counts of second-degree murder for killing 16-year-old Jeremy Stewart and 19-year-old William Jody Hughes. Aggravated battery and assault as well. All day long, the jury listened to tapes where Elwood Robinson confesses to the shooting. All day long, they saw family burst into tears during awful, vivid descriptions of their boys' killings. We asked the moms of those 2 boys how they felt now and what they would tell their boys if they could.
That I love him very much. That I would hug him very, very hard. I would tell him what a good son he is. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the things that he wanted to do. I would just say a million things.
I felt so relieved. We've waited so long for this. Like, my son got justice, his daughter got justice, Jeremy got justice, our families, everybody, my granddaughter, she's now getting justice for her dad as well.
Now, we won't know exactly what justice looks like until August 10th. That day is Elwood Robinson's sentencing hearing, but several family members told me that today will be their last day.
And Anika, you've been in the courtroom all day. Can you tell us what happened?
There are not a lot of people in the courtroom, mostly Casey Crowther's family, but there is a lot of emotion. Essentially lying about how much money he had to qualify for a mortgage and get a fancy home. Interestingly, in a debate over what's allowed in closing arguments, the defense asked that prosecution not call Crowther a liar, but they said it's okay if they say he lied. The jury has spoken. Casey Crowther, owner of Target Roofing and Sheet Metal, is guilty as charged.
Business here. Anything to say to customers? How you spend money?
Now his customers have questions.
You know, Casey Crowther is the owner, but what's going to happen to all the little people?
Jim Ryder told me Target Roofing did the roof on his condo. Is the warranty good if Crowther goes to prison?
Concerned that, you know, if something does happen to our roofs, we're going to have to pay up again. And a lot of people here cannot afford it.
So I called Crowther and he agreed to answer questions, but not about his criminal case. He told me his customers have nothing to worry about. They're in great shape, he said. It's a large company. That trial was for one person, and that was me, and not them. They'll be in good shape and in good hands. Crowther told us Target Roofing will operate as usual and the company will stay in his name.
Even if he's in jail, he can own a company and it can operate.
So any warranty or guarantee in the contract that's signed by Target Roofing is still active as long as the company is.
And Crowther told me his workers will be good too. Crowther said, for me, the employees are the important part, as they were before and as they are now. I can't just give up on 200 families. That's just not fair. Crowther told me his customers should trust Target Roofing because of his employees. If you are a customer, the lawyers in my story say you should review your contracts, and if you have any issues, get them taken care of now. Crowther goes before a judge for sentencing at the end of June. A very remorseful Casey Crowther told me it felt good to accept responsibility. He told me he felt the pain of this months ago, not here in the courthouse. He also said that he expected something to happen to him, and today he found out what? That he would need to leave his family, friends, his 3 children to go to prison for more than 3 years. Let's show you some video of the people that showed up to support Crowther today. Before the judge sentenced him, Crowther got up and turned to all the people that he calls his Target Roofing family. That's when you could see the pain that set in on his family's faces. You could feel it, the sobbing, shaking, hanging on to each other, holding their hands. And this courtroom was packed with emotional supporters. So many that the judge sat them in the jury box. But all of them, Crowther told them he loved them and that he let them down.
You know, if I do something to hurt myself, I take those consequences and I can live with that. When you hurt somebody else, that's painful. Southwest Florida is my community. I've lived here. I was born here. I went to school here. So, you know, I look forward to the other side of this and making things right and trying to do what I can for this community again. This community doesn't owe me anything.
Now, after that more than 3 years served in prison, Crowther will have 3 years of supervised release. He also asked the judge if he could serve his time in a facility in Pensacola. He said that he had family there. The judge said that he would take that under consideration, but Crowther will not have to report to that facility until July 30th at noon.
Wake News reporter Anika Henniger talked with the victim's mom about this twist in the case.
Losing someone is already painful.
They took away her homecoming, her prom. She got to have her first date. That was it. That is not enough.
It hurts more than enough. Every hour, every day since a hit-and-run driver left Alana Staiano for dead on this road in North Fort Myers in January of 2020.
She took my daughter away. She did not give my daughter a chance to stand in a room to defend herself.
That woman, the state says, is 25-year-old Courtney Gainey.
I will put myself through hell and back to make sure that, you know, this comes out with the proper outcome.
Prosecutors went to court today to ask a judge to put Gainey back behind bars. They argued Gainey called and threatened witnesses, among them Austin Britton. He testified Gainey told him not to show up to depositions, or she'd make his life living hell.
That, in my mind, is she's family with the mother of my kids, so I took it as I wasn't going to be able to see my kid anymore.
The judge decided that alone was enough to revoke Gainey's bond. From the courtroom, she went right to jail.
She left my 14-year-old daughter laying face first on the side of the road to die by herself. That is what I hope she has to live with for the rest of her life.
Courtney Gainey is now charged with both the hit-and-run death of Alana Staiano and a witness tampering. Gainey said nothing in court. She did cry and shake her head until she was taken to jail, where she will stay until her trial in late September. Alana's mom told me she will be there every moment, hoping for a full bite of justice, unlike just the taste she got today.